Good morning and welcome back to What My Dad Does. Today I'm installing a leave it on a rose handle with a bathroom lock. So firstly, how is this going to go together? Well, it's very simple really. You have your handle with a square hole. You have your bar that goes between the handles. It sits in that hole and they go through the middle of the bathroom lock. This, obviously, when you turn the handle, turns the latch, and you have a similar one on the bottom, a slightly smaller spindle that goes through the bottom and goes into your thumb turn. Simple as that. But the first thing to know is where we actually want to locate our handle on the door. So you might be matching other doors, in which case you want to locate it at the same place. For myself, I've got a 5-panel door, so I'm going to put it in the middle panel, in the middle of the middle panel, so about here. And that is about 1 metre off the floor. And I believe regs are 900 to 1.50 metre. So I'm within that. So that's all good. Once you know where you want to put your handle, mark it on the edge of your door. And that is obviously the centre of your latch hole. So you can put the centre of your latch hole over the height you want your handle, and then you can mark the top and bottom of the lock. Well, because what we're going to do, we're going to slide this lock all the way into the door. So what we need to do is we need to chop this out at that thickness so it can slide in. So how are we going to chop this part of the door out? Well, you need a spade bit at the same width as your lock. Also, make sure you get the depth correct. So I'm going to wrap a bit of tape around about here so I know that when I'm drilling into my door, I get it the right depth. One thing you need to do when you drill this out is you need to make sure that this isn't pointing down or pointing at an angle out. It needs to go straight back into the door, otherwise you can burst through the side, or you can go up and down to the lock sitting up or down. Neither are good. You want to be going straight the way back. Do as many holes as you can, drill in there, and then use a chisel just to chisel it out so it's a nice square slotted hole. And then hopefully the lock will slide back in. Anyway, I'm going to get on with that and then I'll come back and we'll talk about the next bit. And so there's our lock, our sash lock is now recessed in there nice. All I need to do now is mark around this and then chisel that out just to that depth, just a couple of millimeters, just so the whole thing sits flush. So I'll do that now. Okay, so this is now nicely recessed into our door and the plate is recessed as well. So the next bit to do is to drill these 2 holes. So essentially what you want is to know where that is and where that is if the lock is in position. So we know the height of this because we've used that to fit here. So we can measure down from the door and mark that one. Then I'm going to take this measurement and then take the measurement from here to here, measure it back from the door, measure it back from the door, mark them, drill them. I'm using a spade bit just at the right diameter. I won't need a spade bit for this one, it's too small. But a little spade bit for this one, a little drill bit for this one. I'm going to drill from one side into the middle and then from the other side into the middle. Don't drill right the way through the door because as it comes out the other side, it's going to splinter out, explode out the surface of your door. So it will just shatter this veneer here. So anyway, let's get on and let's drill those 2 holes. Okay, so they're both drilled and ready to go. The next thing to do is to fit our handle. You'll notice on the sash lock that there is a little cutout and also a hole. And the reason for that is when your handle is in line with the central hole there, the two screws to fix the handle go through these two holes. That's the whole idea of those holes there. So we can, if I put that in there, my two spindles should go through, hopefully, yep. And yep, and you see that when this turns, it turns the latch and that turns the lock, simple as that. So I know that I can put this on and go through the two side holes through the lock to the other side. And I'm going to do that with the screws they give you that screw in to affixing the other side. And that goes from one handle to the other handle so the handles can't pull apart. These are incredibly fiddly to do. They're horrible things to do because you've got to somehow line that up in the middle of the door and then be able to screw it together. But it does require patience. It is frustrating, but I do try and make sure I get those on. A lot of chippies leave them out and just put the screws in because screws are so much quicker and easier. But I do prefer to do it because then you don't get the handles ever pulling apart. So I'm going to mark these two holes. Again, I'll drill from the outside in, and then I'll fit these two screws, and then we'll put the little screws in. With this bottom one, same thing. We've got our thumb turn going inside. That will just go over that spindle, and then the other bit on the other side. So I'm going to get on, drill these holes, get these fixed. Sorry, just quickly, I forgot to say, before you fix your handles, you want to fix this. So get this screwed in. This is now where this is going to live. So get that screwed in properly before you do your handles. It will give you the right location for the spindle through the door. Okay, so that's all done. So handles on, lock's working, looks nice. The only last thing to do is the strike plate. The way I do that is I will close the door, mark where that latch comes out, and I know that wants to be the top of my strike plate. So I'll now offer that up for height wise, and then I will measure the distance from here to the face of this, and on my frame that is my doorstop. So I'll put that measurement off of my doorstop here across and mark that face there. So that's against the keep. My doorstop's going to be here. So I'll move the camera so you can see. This section here needs to be drilled out to the depth of the lock. The lock is normally further out than the latch, so just measure that, make sure you drill enough depth so that can come right out. And then you need to mark around this just so you can chisel this out so it sits flush in the frame. So I'll move the camera and get that done. Okay, right, so here we are. We're going to cut the strike plate out. I've done that measurement I mentioned from the inside of the door to the edge of the lock, and that was 25 millimeters, so I've marked that down here. That's the height measurement I took. I took one at the bottom of the lock as well. And if I turn this, it's going to obviously sit that way, but if I turn it upside down, we can see that just fits nicely inside there, top to bottom. And these strike plate bits want to be just that side so the lock sits nicely snug up against them in the door frame. So I'm going to mark this bit out. This is the bit we're going to want to drill out to the depth of our lock and our latch. And then I want to just mark around this because this is the bit that I want to make sure is nicely recessed. So I'm going to just mark around this. and then I can chisel that out. So that's the shape of it. Drill, chisel, so it's nice and flush, and we'll get that in. And so that's it, we're finished. I really hope that helps some of you out. That's the whole point of me doing these videos, is to give you some tips and hints. One thing I did forget to tell you is the bar that goes between the handles and the thumb turn, I had to cut that down because this isn't a fire door, it's a thinner door, so I had to cut that down. So you might have to cut that down to make sure they fit tight. And I had to cut the screws down that I put between the two handles as well, actually the ones that go into the little socket. I had to cut those down too. But apart from that, hopefully that's covered everything for you. So yeah, if you liked the video, please give me a thumbs up and a like, and hopefully I'll catch you on the next one.